Call this meeting to order in just 1 second as soon as our buttons are pushed. And so, would you, we call this meeting to order. Would you please stand with me and recite the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, I'd like to welcome everybody that came out tonight on a nice summer evening for the commission meeting. First item on the agenda would be our commission weekly reports, and Commissioner Moore, do you have one?
I do. First of all, I would like to remind everyone that tomorrow is voting day, so make sure that you do not forget to vote. Very important to vote in our primary elections. On Tuesday, I have a Housing Coalition Executive Board meeting. On Wednesday, my regular briefing. On Thursday, a Mason County Foundation for Hope meeting, and also I'm hoping to go to Music in the Park. I would also like to announce that our award-winning wastewater treatment plant has won for the second year in a row, a wastewater treatment plant outstanding performance award. So we won one in 2013 and also in 2014. I also would like to announce that that our longtime sewer treatment operator, John Oska, has left us to go to a job elsewhere. And we will miss him, and we will miss his expertise, and we thank him for guiding us through many years and for winning these last two awards. We look forward to more to come. And that's it.
All right, Commissioner Olson.
Tomorrow I have a left board meeting, also a Mason Transit Authority special meeting. And then just to add to my report, during the week I received a couple of calls from choice students thanking us for the naming of the park. And also her daughters contacted me and thanked us also. So that was kind of nice to know that got right out there thanks to the media that they put that out and people appreciated what we did. So it made me feel a lot better that we named it after the person we did. That's my report.
All right, this week on Thursday, I'm planning to, if my notes in my black book are correct, meeting with staff from the Denny Heck office to look into, sounds like my notes were correct,
Yes.
look into some possible funding options to help us for our funding of Basin 3. And so anyway, hopefully they will have some ideas. We've met with them a few times before, but anyway, that's what I'm planning to do on Thursday, and I believe Commissioner Moore wants to change her report a little bit.
Thank you. Yes, I also will be meeting with Congressman Heck's office, and I will be discussing the possibility of getting some help from that office for rail right-of-way. And so I'm looking forward to that meeting as well.
All right. That completes our weekly commission reports. Next is an opportunity for general public comment. If you'd like to speak about something, anything, now would be one of the opportunities in the meeting to do so. And I think Marilyn has signed in. Did you want to speak now?
I signed in for the public meeting.
No problem. Thank you. So at this point, what we'd like to do is recess out of our regular meeting and open a public hearing. So, and this public hearing is talking about our 6-year transportation improvement program. It's going to be presented to us tonight by Mike Michaels, our city engineer.
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners. I'll keep this pretty brief. This is a process we go through every year. RCW 3577 requires that we review this annually and adopt it again by resolution after having a public hearing. And so tonight we're here for the public hearing. This is the normal time of year we try and do this. You've seen the documents, the project list that was presented last week in preparation for today's public hearing. As I mentioned last week, there are basically 5 changes to that list from the previous year. 4 of them are updates because of project status or planned project status of projects that are already in the works. The 5th update was the change of scope and change of name of an existing project from a pedestrian facilities improvement to a corridor study, which will obviously include pedestrian facilities and other new facilities between 11th and the city limits along Railroad. Other than that, it is still the list of projects that we have without funding primarily, and our duty to recognize those and continue to look forward to those and present them onto the state as part of their list.
We have an opportunity, actually, I think this is a legal requirement, to have some public testimony from anyone in the public would like to speak about this. And so I think we have 1 or 2 that have signed up. So it would be this time that we welcome testimony from the public, and it is Marilyn Vogler.
Thank you. Marilyn Vogler, 420 East Poplar. Mostly what I have are questions and very brief comments. I notice item 4 has to do with sidewalks on Franklin, and it says something about replacing sidewalk capping the creek. There's been a lot of conversation about daylighting Shelton Creek. I hope that's what this is. If not, I hope it's not something that will make that more difficult. Item 11 is Railroad Avenue improvements to make it ADA accessible. I would simply remind that when the visioning project was being shaped, there was talk about raised crosswalks in Railroad, both to help slow traffic and make it more apparent there was a pedestrian crossway there. This would change the kind of work needing to be done for ADA accessibility, and I hope, again, that the work planned won't preclude that kind of alternative. Item 21, a truck route. It doesn't say much about this, but I hope this is in regard, again, to the visioning project where we talked about rerouting the truck route, the truck traffic off First Street over closer to the mill. Item 24, the corridor study for Railroad Avenue. I appreciate the fact it's not just pedestrian. I think there are other potentials along there that could be useful. It is a main entrance into the city, and so I'm looking forward to what comes up in the next year or 2 or 3 as that line gets filled in. And item 28, the Coda Street City parking lot. Again, it's not in the near future apparently, but one of the things listed is surfacing. I hope you'll make a note that that surfacing should be permeable. Much better for the environment, for water, for all kinds of things. That's all I have a comment about. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone from the public, else in the public like to comment at this time? Hearing none, I would invite my fellow commissioners if they had any additional comments about this.
I appreciate your comments, Marilyn, and those are things that we will address when we are able to get funding for these projects, definitely. And I think that as we're looking at anything that is going to be regarding stormwater, that we will be looking at options to make it a greener form of stormwater management. I don't really have any other questions on this, except that it was my understanding that these aren't in any particular order, that this is not like an order of importance. It's these are items that have to be identified so that we can qualify for funding.
That is correct. The ones that are showed with secured funding, they're somewhat more in order of precedence, but still even those really aren't. It is a place for us to store the projects we've identified for these potential funding sources. And the priority number really is more of a way of identifying the specific projects within the list.
Yeah, it would be nice if we had the ability to do all of these.
Someday they will be all
Yes.
done, I'm sure. Commissioner Olson?
Yeah, that would be my only comment, is now would be a great time to plug the initiative, or the ballot measure that will be on in November for funding transportation projects through an increase in the sales tax in the city limits. By raising it 0.2%, we can raise approximately $400,000 to $500,000 per year at the current rate we are at right now. And by all indications, our sales tax is increasing. I'm tied in with the Mason Transit, and they chart it month to month, and we're 10% over last year's period at this time right now for sales tax, so that's a good indication that people are shopping. So if you're in the city, please vote for it. If you're not in the county, please encourage people who are in the city to vote for it. I know the staff can't be real political with that, but I can. So that's my comment.
All right. Well, I appreciate the hard work that the staff has done, and they go through this every year, and so it's kind of updating things. And the one thing is I remember becoming as a mayor 4 years ago, and the Lake Boulevard thing, when are you going to do Lake Boulevard? When are you going to do Lake Boulevard? So I'm glad to see that it's coming up to the top of the food chain there. And I actually have never really driven on it because I'm afraid of it, because of all I've heard about it. I mean, people go, Lake Boulevard, and I went, oh, gee, that must be bad out there. So anyway, I'm glad that we're looking into that, getting that one done. And it looks like some funding and stuff has been approved to do that. So all the rest of these things are just a list that we just bash away at every year, and so that's all I have to say about it.
May I say one more thing?
Absolutely.
I just would like to point out, too, that this Railroad Avenue Corridor Study is a project that we will be working on jointly with the county and with Mason Transit. We're all on board with that. And it may actually involve DOT, too, because the ultimate goal is to improve Railroad Avenue, widen it all the way out to the park and ride at the other side of 101. So we're working on building the partnerships and looking forward to the time when we're able to secure the money to put together a total plan and put together a funding package for that. So that will be great when it happens. And that's it.
All right, very good. Well, it appears that staff is okay to move this forward and follow the recommendations to place this resolution 1084-0815 on the consent agenda for August 10th, 2015. At this time, I close the public hearing. And I believe that's all we have to do about that subject this time. Okay, are we ready for the reading of the consent agenda?
Yes.
Okay. Leslie Ann, could we please have a reading of the consent agenda?
Consent agenda, vouchers numbered 86344 through 86422 in the amount of $237,426.19. Manual warrant numbered 86341 in the amount of $50 to Department of Ecology. Business meeting of July 20th, 2015, and study session of July 27th, 2015.
Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda as read?
So moved.
I second that motion.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The agenda passes. We have no old business tonight, but we have a couple items under new business. And the first item will be presented to us by, again, our city engineer, Mike Michael.
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners. What you have before you this evening is the first step in a request for vacation of property. First commission step, let's put it that way. We received an application back in early October of last year regarding the potential vacation of about 4,500 square feet of alley in the vicinity of Mill Street here in downtown. That application's been routed, reviewed, approved, and just recently, the last piece from the proponents was submitted to us, and that was some signatures regarding an easement that will be needed over that alley once it is vacated. The first step of the process for the commission is actually to adopt a resolution setting the public hearing out a minimum of 20 days, a maximum of 60 days from the adoption date of the resolution. And then staff needs to go forward after that if decided by the commission to proceed with some postings and some mailings, and then come back and prepare an actual ordinance for the public hearing for the actual vacation of the property. Again, staff, both Public Works and Planning, have reviewed this application, and after a little bit of back and forth with the proponent on some easement documents, we are at this point in the position to recommend that the commission move forward with the conditions that we have set to the proponents, namely that an easement be retained for utility purposes. And this evening, we're asking the commission to adopt this resolution, setting the public hearing for September 8th.
Was that the only condition? Just
Yes.
for purposes?
Yep, we have sewer lines running through that alley right now in particular, so.
Any more questions or comments?
No.
Okay. It appears that we have enough information to agree with staff's recommendation to set a public hearing for Tuesday, September 15th. Oh, sorry, I'm backing up. When you get older, your eyes, you got to adjust them a little bit. There's a briefing, okay. So we have a briefing on this resolution, 1085-0815 regarding the vacating of the alley between the Mill Street and Harvard Street. Okay, and so it looks like, yeah, I'm coming back down here, and I am going to actually set a public hearing for Tuesday, September 8th. Okay, I was right the first time. And placing this resolution, 1085-0815, on the consent agenda for August 10th, 2015. Okay, thank you very much. What I'll do is I'll put an X through that so I won't come back and read that again. It appears that at this time we have some administration report activity, and I'm going to turn this meeting over to our acting city administrator, Vicki Look, at this time.
I'm going to turn over this portion of the meeting to Steve Goins, and he's going to brief you on a letter
There you go, Mr. Steve.
that we're asking the commission to consider.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. We have two items here. The first item is a sort of a housekeeping item. We recently requested that the City Commission sign a letter indicating their intent to work with Simpson on some of their assets related to their right-of-way and the roundhouse, other elements that were not part of the sale to Sierra Pacific. Something we left out of that process was to authorize staff to enter into negotiations and work through all those details in the negotiation process. Our policy requires that the Commission take that action. Staff would come back to you as much as you'd like in terms of reporting on activities. We were going to overview things such as negotiating price, liability issues, other sort of contingencies that might come out of that process. But that all begins with having the Commission authorize us to proceed. We didn't ask for that when we had the letter signed last week.
I think that sounds like a good idea to me, so I don't have any objections to, you would ask, we would sign the letter, isn't that correct?
We asked for the letter to be signed. That letter was sent to Simpson Company. What we didn't ask in the last meeting was authorizing staff to proceed with negotiations. So we didn't want to commence that until that formality was taken.
Any disagreement or discussion with that?
Motion for that?
We're just asking that the commission concur to give Steve the authority to enter into those discussions with Simpson.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a question, though. Would that include also the items that we've requested? Would that include a negotiation with Sierra Pacific as part of the project?
That wasn't the request. The elements that we specifically discussed were the roundhouse and the portions of the rail corridor right-of-way. I'm assuming you might be referring to the shop building site, or is there another?
No, to the items that Sierra Pacific has indicated that they have set aside if we are able to be successful in this venture. So I think there may be some negotiations required in that department too. Shall we do both at the same time, or do we need to do that at a...
Separate letter or something from SBI to, that would go, wouldn't it? Because aren't they separate issues?
They are separate but related issues.
They are separate and related. I think the concern with this particular request was the timing. Simpson seemed to be
Yes.
interested in moving this along, whereas I'm not necessarily getting the same indication from Sierra Pacific, but that would be your call in terms of how you want to proceed with that. Certainly with Simpson, I know that they're interested in trying to get this process moved along.
I think that this commission is in agreement that both bodies, Sierra Pacific and Simpson, should be have staff's ability to talk to them about this. But at this moment, it looks like you just have one letter before us. I have no problem in you bringing another letter at a early future date that would indicate. I think we're also talking about items to put in the possible roundhouse. Isn't that some items too? So I think we have this before us. I guess we could okay this tonight, and then a week or two if you want to bring something that addresses Tracy's concerns about that because I think we need both things to work together.
If you'd like to see another letter regarding the Sierra Pacific items, I can bring that forward at a future meeting. That would be fine.
Oh, okay.
I think that makes sense to me. I mean, because you would be wanting staff to be able to talk to that group also.
That would be helpful.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that I would like to see that fairly soon because it seems like when things happen, they happen really quickly.
Sure.
And we don't always have time to do the agreements in a timely manner.
So would I assume that this commission concurs that we can accept this letter and direct staff that we have permission to represent us in those negotiations, and that they will soonly bring forth another letter, and that we can also do the same process? But tonight we are really okaying this letter that's before us.
The specific request tonight is to just confirm staff's ability to proceed with negotiation. Vicki Looks, the acting city administrator, and she has authorized me to act on staff's behalf, but that takes concurrence per our policy of the city commission.
We're speaking of the letter that was previously signed at a commission meeting.
I think that was last week.
Right.
Yes,
So
last
the
week.
letter was signed, and now we're just formally asking for
Right.
permission for Steve to be able to enter into discussions with
And I
Simpson.
think we want to do that.
Yes, thank you.
We concur. This is a good idea.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay.
My second item is in regards to a new letter. From time to time, we get requests to support others in grant applications, and sometimes the timing of these doesn't allow our typical three-touch process. In this case, we were requested to support PUD's request for a grant application that would establish a business development center or an incubator like the city has discussed for some time. The letter that's in the packet is the letter we're requesting the mayor to sign. And again, the timing of this is not allowing us to have the typical three-touch process. Our request is to provide this letter this week to the PUD. So staff's request in turn is to authorize the mayor to sign this letter tonight so that we can include this in their grant application.
Point of order here. Okay. Yes, I do have that letter here. Okay. I've been talking to people about this, and I'm not positive that, that I've made up my mind on it yet. Okay? So, and the three-touch process is a good one because it gives us a little time to have a week to think about things, okay? It is unfortunate that this letter was in my packet and I studied it, and evidently I only read the other letter, and that I did not actually have a chance to read this letter. But there is some question about setting an incubator situation up in that building, that we've had some conversation with some people in the public, I have, and not positive that is the best thing to do. I may next week totally support it, but at this time, I couldn't sign the letter. I haven't studied it enough. It's a first touch, and so I'm sorry about the timing issue. But if the other commissioners feel comfortable and want to vote on this tonight or whatever, that's the prerogative of a three-person commission. So mine is, I need a little more time based upon some conversations I have had. I'm non-committal on this tonight, and I will spend more diligence this week in looking at that. So that's kind of where I am.
Steve, I had a question about this. I wasn't aware that PUD was looking into an incubator space. And so is this indeed in their old building, or have they set a location, or is this in conjunction with the EDC?
I have some limited details I can fill in on this. The city has viewed that old former admin building as perhaps an opportunity for an incubator space. In past discussions with the state about that, there was a lot of hesitation about sort of predetermining where an incubator should be located here and what your focus should be, that you should first study this and get a better handle on where the market is telling you should be looking toward, and whether that's in manufacturing or some of the use that may not be appropriate for that building. The study would help you sort of hone in on what you should best be suited to do based on the resources that are around you. The PUD is certainly looking for a reuse of that building, and I think they're not hiding that request. They are aware that the feasibility study would in part determine whether that's a good idea, or if another location with a different focus would be a preferred idea for Mason County. They understand that the study in the end might tell them incubator is a good idea, but not in your admin building. But that certainly is their focus, is to try to find something for a reuse in that building, and they thought an incubator or a business development center certainly made a lot of sense to them, and that's why they're making the request. I understand the state has a lot of interest in trying to help Mason County in these economic times, and are a lot more supportive of this request than they were a couple of years ago when the city made an application. But that's about all I know about it.
So this is a request for a grant that PUD is putting together, so there's no monetary commitment asked for from the city. It's just support for their grant application?
That's correct. It's simply this letter that indicates city support for their efforts.
Okay. I would feel comfortable with this.
Okay. Excuse me one second, Mr. Olson. The date when they really need this, do we have another week on this?
No, we don't, unfortunately. They're telling me they are submitting the application on August 5th.
I just read it 4 times, and I'm just kind of, I just haven't talked in the community enough kind of about it. And again, you know, I hate making decisions with just reading a letter. I'm in a difficult situation here. You want to talk about this?
Yeah, I kind of have, I have read the letter, and I think it's a great idea to move forward with it, seeing how there is a time issue. I have my doubts whether it's going to be fruitful, seeing how the state just awarded us the economic development money they just did, that I kind of have reservations about getting tied to it, you know, not wanting to jeopardize what we've already kind of gained. But I think it's great that the PUD wants to do something with that building in the city, so I would be supportive of joining with them in pushing this forward.
Well, it appears that we have 2 commissioners that are willing to make that commitment tonight, and I have no problem in then, if that is their final decision, us, and I will sign the letter, just not to be, it'd be a little embarrassing to have, and the mayor to sign it, and he doesn't sign it. So I have read it 3 times. I respect the PUD's involvement in this community and their desire to do something with building. This is merely telling that we want to support them in looking into an option. And so I will go along with it. It is important, the 3-touch policy works in these situations. It is, but it was really probably, it's nothing to do with you. The PUD probably came by yesterday and says, oh yeah, by the way, we want you to support this. And however that happened, and I've been one to just say, sorry about the 3-touch, if it's obvious. This one, there's some question about it, but I think we can concur that we'll go ahead and push it forward, and I would sign it.
Thank you. Again, from time to time, we do have these grant opportunities come before us, and sometimes you get very little notice of a pending deadline. And that's exactly what happened in this case. I think it was sometime after last Monday's meeting, we were presented with this request. So that's why we're just touching on it now.
So I think you have our blessing. Okay?
Thank you.
Okay. Next on our agenda, which isn't a lot, is another public comment period. If anyone would like to speak about anything involving the city, now would be the opportunity. And if no one is signed up to do that, I will now turn this over to our city administrator for any administration items she would like to bring forward.
I have no administration items.
Okay. So,
But final touches
and,
or
well,
administration?
I'm now going into item K, which is administration final touches. So hold your horses, and here we go. Is there any administration final touches?
Yeah, actually, I want to give the commission a little preview of our briefing for next week on Lake Boulevard. We had our bid opening today. We had 6 bidders. Apparent low bidder at this point, we're still reviewing the documents, is just slightly over $4 million total, and both utility schedules were under the $350,000 high end that we gave you guys for the range for the last few times we've talked about it. So we'll know more on after this week of a review with our briefing on Monday. So
What was the estimated bid on that?
the last estimate that we had prior to bidding was just shy of $4.3 million, and our low bidder was just a smidge over $4 million.
Okay, so good job on the estimate.
We kind of got lucky, I think, given the market right now. So, but so far they look good, and we'll have some more information on Monday, though.
All right, any more administration final touches? Seeing none. Our next meeting, regular meeting, will be August 10th, 2015 at 2 p.m. in the afternoon. This meeting is adjourned.